Today we are making Lagman soup.
I'm going to be making this in a classic Russian Dutch oven. You can make it in a regular Dutch oven or in any soup pot that you can saute or brown your meat and vegetables in. And I have a pound and a half of sirloin that I cubed finely, and I'm going to throw in probably half of it. I'm going to do it in batches because I want to brown it. I don't want it to let out all its juices and start boiling, basically. So I'm going to throw it in here. The sizzle, and I'll come back and show you the brown meat. Taken the first batch of meat out, and it's nice and brown. And now I added another teaspoon of oil. I had a teaspoon of oil in the Dutch oven before, and now I'm going to add the second batch of meat, and I'm going to brown it, and then I'll show you the next step. So I've taken the browned meat out, and you really want all of this stuff to be left in your pan. The good browned bits. Now I put in a little bit of oil, it's probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil, and I'm going to put the meat back in once it's hot enough. To that I'm going to add 4 onions, regular size that I sliced very, very thin. You can use a mandolin. I cut them into thin half circles, and now I'm just going to stir it in and let it cook for a little while, and then I'll show you the next step. So I stirred in the onions, and then I added in some carrots. I had 3 pretty small carrots that I cut into very thin slices. Some are half circles, some are full circles, but you want to cut them thin. And then I added some anise seed, which is very important. It's a key flavor here, and I love this stuff, so I added liberally, probably 2 teaspoons, but it's up to you how much you want to add. And I also added some crushed red pepper flakes and salt and pepper to taste, and then I'll show you the next step. So I've sauteed the carrots and onions with the meat for a few minutes, and now I'm going to add this pepper. I'm not sure what it's called, but I have one that I've chopped up. So I'm going to add that, and I'm going to saute it for a few minutes, and then I'll show you the next step. So I have 5 large tomatoes that I grated on the large side of a box grater. Alternatively, you can peel the tomatoes and grind them up in a food processor or a blender. I'm going to add this to the pot now. And I'm going to let this cook for a few minutes until the tomatoes change color, and then I'll show you the next ingredient. So I've let this cook for a few minutes, and now I'm going to add some Yukon Gold potatoes. I have 4, they weren't very large, that I cubed up, and I had them sitting in some cold water so they wouldn't blacken, and I'm going to use that water in my soup. I'm also going to add 2 small zucchinis that I peeled and chopped up into little squares. They're about this size. And I'm also going to add a small can of chickpeas. And I'm going to let this cook for a little while until the potatoes are almost done, and then I'll show you the next step. Some people like their soup more like a gravy, but I like mine to be more like a soup. So I'm probably going to put in enough water so that it'll be about an inch, maybe more, over the top of everything. So now that the potatoes are practically done, they're pretty much done. You just test them by pushing on them or trying to push a knife through them and see if they're soft. So now that they're basically done, I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of frozen green beans. If you don't like green beans, you don't have to add them. But I have a bunch of them left from my garden from this summer, and I want to use them. So I'm just going to cook this for a little bit. I don't want to overcook them, and then I'll show you the next step. Once you feel your green beans have cooked long enough, I'm going to add a bunch of basil, a bunch of cilantro, a little bit of chopped fresh dill, and a good 1.5 tablespoons of crushed garlic. It's up to you how much garlic you want to add. You can, play with the herbs, whatever you like or don't like. You could use parsley. This is the mix that I'm using. So I'm just going to stir this in, and I'm going to turn the soup off, and I'll show you how to plate it. Traditionally, Lagman is made with handmade, hand-rolled, thick noodle. I tried to do it myself once and failed miserably, so I'm not even going to attempt to make it again. This is just some store-bought dry linguine pasta that I've cooked. Alternatively, some Asian markets have a really nice homemade thick noodle. It's thicker than a lo mein noodle, kind of square. They keep it in the refrigerated section, and those work really well. But I want to make this accessible to more people, so just use some regular linguine, cook it up, and now I'm going to just spoon the soup over the top.
So here it is, guys. I hope you enjoy.